Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Ecuador Insider podcast. I'm Jesse Bayer, joined as always by my business partner, Darnell Dunn. We are the co-founders and managing partners of Abundant Living Ecuador. We took a few weeks off from the show. We've been super busy. A lot of people like to travel down in summer and see properties, so we've been flat out for the last few weeks, but we're back today. We have a really exciting guest today. We have a great attorney out of Guayaquil who can sort of give us an overview of everything Ecuador with a legal slant. So we think we can really give you a lot of value today from an information standpoint. So we'll get to that shortly. You can find us on our website at abecuador.com. That's A as in Apple, B as in boy, Ecuador.com. You can reach us on our toll-free line, 888-999-0948. And, of course, email info@abecuador.com. I got to say, I was taken back in time about 15 years this morning when I overslept. So my apologies to you and Darnell and Jose. I was scrambling around. It reminded me of high school this morning, late for class or something. But
dog ate your homework.
Right, dog ate my homework. But here we are, beautiful day today in Loja. We're in the middle of like the cool season here. It's on Saturday, July 23rd. We're recording this, and with no further ado, let me introduce Jose Ampuerdo Ramirez. Jose is an attorney based out of Guayaquil, fully bilingual, fluent English speaker. Jose has over 10 years of law experience, specializes in a number of different areas, which we'll get into with him today. And he's really our go-to attorney for larger issues, anything tricky, does a lot of corporate stuff. So very valuable person to know and be in contact with, and certainly somebody we feel extraordinarily comfortable recommending to people who are looking to immigrate to and or do business in Ecuador. So Jose, how are you doing?
Hello guys, good morning.
Morning.
I'm fine. Thanks for the invitation. Thank you
Yeah,
very
we're
much.
psyched
I'm very pleased to be here with you.
As are we. So maybe we'll start with a little bit of an overview of Ecuador. We've certainly talked about this in the past, but I think it's important for people to understand sort of the environment here. So I'll just kind of set it up for you, and then what I'd really like to hear from you is just, you're very well connected in both to the political and business community. So you have a really good handle on what's going on. So if you could just give our listeners sort of your opinion on things. And basically what I'm talking about is, we've got an election coming up, a national election, a presidential election next year. The economy is shrinking. GDP is going to be severely negative in 2016. This is after a year of flat growth, and then before that almost 15 or 12 or plus years of exceptional growth. Banks are lending less, oil prices are down, government's reining in spending, real estate prices are dropping to a small degree, which we can talk about as well. But what are you kind of seeing from your standpoint, both as it relates to the politics of Ecuador, the election, and then overall for businesses, for the business climate, the economy in general?
Well, indeed, it's a very hard time now for the Ecuadorian economy, since we depend on the oil prices. And as for all the oil producer countries, it's very hard to sustain the local economy with such a small price of the oil. So the government has a very hard time finding resources to sustain all the expenses. All the business in general are in a recession. There's a general recession, and you can sense it everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's a very big shortage of money flowing in the economy, and it's something that will go on for several months until the oil prices hopefully will recover to a certain level. And we are expecting elections next February, so the political environment is also very agitated.
Mm-hmm.
The actual president movement, which is Alianza País, will postulate their candidates, but in the same political position of socialism.
Right.
They call it 21st century socialism. And same thing as in Venezuela,
right.
Bolivia, Nicaragua, Cuba, and we all know the results there. So unless the opposition wins, I don't see the economy very well for the next years.
Yeah, and I want to jump back into the economy in a minute, but I've seen a number of polls recently that has the president's approval rating between 28 and 33%. So certainly he's unpopular right now in the country. Most presidents are when the economy is bad, of course. But a lot of people I talk to just don't think there's any truly strong opposition candidate that can take the Alianza País party out. What do you think?
Yes, I agree with that. Unless the opposition agree to launch and support one only candidate to, compete against the governmental movement, I don't see any good chances to win, because there aren't new figures, new leaders that can take over. Nobody in the actual political scene has enough weight to compete against the Alianza País.
And who would be your candidate of choice for that sole opposition candidate to be? Are you kind of on Lasso's train, or who do you like?
Well, I'm still waiting to see who else will run for public office, but because right now no one, I don't like any of the actual candidates. But it's too early. In the next weeks or in the next few months, they will keep coming out the rest of the candidates. So we will have more options. But as I see things, I'm voting for someone who has a completely different conception of the economy. I'm convinced that economic liberalism, is the only way for a country to succeed.
Yeah, certainly restricting economic movement has not been successful.
Yes, indeed. So I will go, my choice will be definitely for someone from the right wing.
And, jumping back to business for a second before we get into a bunch of legal stuff and some other things, we've seen, not in mass, but we've certainly seen some amount of business people in the area we are heading out of the country, going to places like Peru and Colombia. What have you seen as far as, for example, there's a car dealership here in Loja that was averaging 30-something car sales a month. They got down to single digits and just recently decided to close their doors. So we've certainly seen some of the effects of the economy. A lot of businesses here locally are really hurting. Is that the same as you're seeing all over the country?
Yes, there are lots of business that has closed their doors, and some other that decided to move to Colombia or to Peru, where investment environment and tax imposition are better for business.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible how high taxes have risen here in Ecuador. When an economy is in recession, you're supposed to do the opposite. The opposite.
Right.
You're not supposed to increase taxes, but to lower them to stimulate the economy. But this socialist government, well, they just do the other way, and that is bad for business. I know big companies that move their whole business chain to Peru, Colombia, even though they don't have the dollar as a currency, but it's just not good for them to stay here.
Yeah, the socialist tax policies have really been a problem.
And there's been a lot of announcements, rumors about other taxes, particularly with capital gains in the estate tax or ley de gerencias. What have you heard on that front?
Well, the capital gain tax it's been a matter of a big national discussion for the last months, and it's outrageous what the state wants to, the cut the state wants. They are stating that it's illegitimate for a particular to obtain capital gain from real estate. And that's just outrageous. If you
Because
invest in a property,
they're taking taxpayer dollars to build roads, and so if they build a road next to your urban property and you profit from that, then that's
their money.
well, there are so much other taxes that you pay for that road or for that park or for that the city hall. It's the entity who charges you for all the all the things that go and nearby your property and increase its value. But now the government also wants to take in the capital gain tax is currently charged by the municipalities. So the city hall was a 10% flat rate with the capital gain tax, but now the central government also wants to take a piece of that, and it's increasing in a very substantial portion this tax. But as I say, it's not only because of the public work they do with roads and schools and hospitals, and it's because they have increased the amount of bureaucrats, and they have so much advertising campaign going on. We are living in a state of propaganda right now, that they need to keep the cash flowing in to sustain this big state we have.
Yep. No, I mean, Darnell, you had sent me a stat the other day that at the height of spending under Correa, public spending, government spending had gotten as high as 44% of GDP.
Yeah,
I mean, that's insane. I mean, that's just absolutely unsustainable.
That's absolutely crazy. And there is by a constitutional principle, there is a top of debt that the government can have with all these foreign credit entities, which is 40% of the GDP, and we are very close to that roof, to that top of 40% of the GDP. And now they want to pass an act to change this 40% top of indebtment to increase it, so they can
Sure.
just keep lending
Borrowing.
more money,
Yeah.
borrowing more money. So they just don't stop.
Yeah, it's incredible the amount of changes that the two of us, have seen in 3 years here in Ecuador. We had also heard that the government was considering increasing the capital flight tax from 5% to 10%. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, I've heard some rumors, but I don't think that will pass.
Mhm.
5% is a very high
Very high.
tax right now, very high rate, and definitely discourages people from coming and investing in Ecuador.
Yeah.
That's a very big um, counter. That's a
It's
very big if when considering investing in Ecuador.
right.
That when you want to take back your profit, you gotta give 5% to the government.
Yeah, off the top, off the net.
Yeah,
Off the
after
bottom
all
line.
the other taxes that you have to pay,
Yeah.
your income tax, your profit tax, you have to pay dozens of taxes here. It's incredible.
No, and I mean, what I've seen, obviously, just in my experience here, the taxes on imports and then the taxes on capital flight, which are at least theoretically designed to keep money in the country, simply make money leave the country. So investors are wary of Ecuador because of the 5% capital flight tax. Investors in business or entrepreneurs and business people are wary of Ecuador because of the import taxes as well. So what people do here is they keep their money outside of the country. And, that's a direct result of those taxes, which are, ostensibly designed to keep money in the country.
As a matter of fact, most of my real estate clients, when they sell property, they expect to receive their money abroad.
Abroad.
They don't want their money here.
Right. Nobody does.
Yeah, that's certainly been my experience too. Anybody who has an account outside the country, they always ask us to arrange the sale outside of the country if and when possible. Are you hearing
Yes,
any other rumors or news about potential new regulations or laws related to real estate transactions, taxes, anything along those lines?
Well, there's a new here in Guayaquil, at least. There are new prices that are being charged as a part of the real estate closings.
Mhm.
They are down. Prices are down in the property registrar and the in the notaries as well. They have downsized a bit all these values, so these charges that these entities charge you.
So in other words, the notary fees and the property register fees have gone down.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
because it was crazy what they were charging just 6 months ago. So somebody uh, realized that this was discouraging as well transactions, real estate transactions, and now they have coming down. It's that's a good sign.
And is that a result of revaluation, reassessing property value, or is that just that they've lowered the fees?
I'm not sure about that, but for example, when you incorporate, when you create a corporation, uh, they used to charge you a big fee for registration,
Mhm.
and now there's a flat fee for almost every process, corporation process that you need to register, which is $25, which is very cheap. That's what's going on in Guayaquil, at least. But every city has its own registrars, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing here in Loja is the opposite of that. Everything's going up in costs as far as government fees,
Wow.
significantly even. And what they're doing here is they're putting outrageously high assessed values on properties. And as you know, the Acabala tax, the transfer tax, as well as the notary fees and the property register fees are calculated off of the assessed value. So if the government says that it's 3 times higher than it is, or 5 times higher than it is, or 10 times higher than it is, you're paying a lot more in taxes and fees.
Well, as you may know, the mayor of the city of Guayaquil is Jaime Nebot,
Right.
which he has he's a
The business.
liberalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a private businessman all his life. Now he has like almost 16 years in office, but he understands business in a different way as the president.
Mhm.
So this guy has kept frozen the real estate values for property tax purposes. So no increase in Guayaquil about that.
Well, we might have to start our next business in Guayaquil then.
Yeah, but it's very little what the city can do against the central government,
Right.
because all the big taxes, they go for the central government.
Well, shifting gears, I think we've talked enough about what's going wrong in Ecuador, and but also it's good information just for people to be informed. I know that we've worked a lot together on immigration law. We continue to have a lot of people who've contacted us about relocating to Ecuador, looking at properties. I know that's one of your specialties. Can you talk a little bit about the steps to immigrating to Ecuador, specifically related to some of the most common options that people approach you about with getting residency?
Yeah, sure. Indeed, I do immigration law. I've done hundreds of visa applications. It's amazing the amount of people that's coming
Yep.
into Ecuador to live. I do both immigrant and non-immigrant visas. It's funny how I started doing immigration law. That was back in 2009 when my partner at the law firm was appointed for public office by the Minister of Foreign Affairs as the head of the ministry in the province of Guayas. So I was an external advisor to him,
Mhm.
and I learned all the process from the inside. And after his resignation, I started taking care of foreign clients who were looking to obtain a visa. So the most common visas are as an investor, both in real estate or CDs. CDs gotta have a minimum amount of 25K. You do the deposit in a local bank institution, and then you gotta keep in mind before coming to Ecuador that it's very important for you to bring your criminal record, both federal-wide and statewide. And it has to be apostille for the document to be valid in Ecuador. Every document issued in a foreign country, in order to be valid, to consider valid in Ecuador, it has to be apostille. The apostille in the States is given by the secretary of each state.
Mhm.
Then you gotta translate it. You can do the translation up there, or you can do it down here. That doesn't matter. And that's basically the two things that you gotta keep in mind: forms and all the rest of the paperwork. We take care of that here. It's not very complicated. Also, your passport needs to be at least 6 months until the expiration date. It has to be valid at least 6 months before the expiration date. When you want to invest in real estate, the property has to be valued also in at least 25 grand. That is not only the deed price, but the municipality value.
Yeah, the assessed value.
Yes, the assessed value. They gotta be at least 25 grand. One thing to keep in mind that is important in real estate investor's visa is that you cannot sell the property because that is your visa ground. That's the grounds of your visa.
Is attached to your visa.
Yeah, if you sell it, you just lose the visa. But you can substitute the property that you first purchased for some other property that you may want to purchase further. That's not a problem. You just gotta make the switch in the visa office. There are also professional visas. We have a very large list of the universities that Ecuadorian government recognize as valid. So if you come with your diploma and your university is on the list, you can apply for a professional visa. You gotta first make the validation process of your diploma and then approach to the visa office to submit all the paperwork for the professional visa. Also,
and with the professional visa, the criminal records still apply, of course, correct?
For every type of visa, you gotta bring your criminal record when immigrating. All immigration visas require criminal record, both federal and statewide. It's gotta be from the state where you live for the past 5 years. It's not where you were born, but where you lived for the last 5 years.
Just FYI for people, if you shoot over to our YouTube channel, we made a video about this process as well, which you can check out. And then we also offer relocation services where we can help you with that. And we also would highly, highly recommend Jose if you're looking to do a no-hassle visa application.
Thank you. There's also a visa for people who are willing to invest in stocks of a limited liability company. You can invest in these shares. That's a word, not stocks. Shares of a company, but that has to be valued at least in 30 grand. That's the minimum amount of the investment. It's gotta be 30 grand. And you can use the company for whatever business purpose you may have. So people who are planning to start business here and want to incorporate, they can use that corporation as a vehicle or as a ground for their visa.
Attach the visa to that investment, the business investment.
Yes. Regarding to the family, for every dependent, wife, kids, you can even come with your mother-in-law or your brother-in-law. You just
Although I don't know if that would be highly recommended.
You just gotta add $500 for each person to your investment.
Right. So if you're coming with your family, children, etc.
Yes, you can come with your whole family, and you just will need to do one application, and then you can cover your family under this application. Just add in $500 to your original investment. There's also
Jose, we get a lot of questions from people who are looking to relocate here who may not be of retirement age, looking to make investments, looking to start companies. Obviously, the environment here currently is a little bit challenged, but because there's maybe less people coming here looking to do that, the opportunities are still there. I know, Jesse and I see a lot of opportunities here for businesses. What's been your overall sense there? What's the overall business climate in Guayaquil, and what kinds of businesses are your expat clients looking to start or discussing with you about starting?
Well, indeed, every crisis involves opportunities. Since I'm located in Guayaquil, I have most of my expat clients located along the coast, and I have a couple of clients who have hostels, hotels, and these type of businesses, which are doing well during our summer, which
Winter in the States.
our winter, I mean, which is when the kids go off school and everybody goes to the beach.
Right.
There's two seasons for that, one for the highlands and one for the coast. So it keeps very busy for them from February to late April, and then from July to September, more or less. And they keep themselves busy, and there's also service people who are offering different services. I know a couple of engineers and architects who are developing. They are into the construction business. There's a guy, a good friend, that is your competition. He started real estate business along the coast. He goes all up to Manabi and Guayas as well. And expats, they keep themselves busy.
Have you seen people getting into agriculture a lot, like cacao, things like that?
Yes. In the southern part of Manabi, there is one guy from Arizona who is growing all types of vegetables that they are not usually grown in the coast. He's built these greenhouses with some special ventilation devices. He has all the know-how. It's amazing. And he's growing all these vegetables and fruits that are not typical from the coast, but in the greenhouses, they grow very, very well. And he's doing it for now for his own consumption and for the expat community, which is a very small community in the southern part of Manabi. But he's planning to offer his production to some other cities and provinces. It's completely organic.
Yep.
And I'm sure he will do very well, because there's most expats, they do care a lot about their food, about
health,
type of food they get.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely. I mean, I know a lot of people too have making money in cacao and what's that tree called? It's like teak or something like that. People are doing pretty well, and then obviously there's people still making money in things like bananas and shrimp and all that. I wanted to ask you this question. What does I was talking to someone the other day who was telling me about some of the export taxes, which I was not familiar with. What do you know about that?
Well, there's no export taxes.
There isn't. Okay, he was wrong. I thought so because I didn't think there was export taxes, but he was saying there was, and I was a little confused.
No, what the government had as a project, it's something that haven't been approved yet.
Mhm.
It's to give all the export activities, give them like a bond for all the dollars they have to collect abroad. They will, give them a bond that they can switch with all the import guys that have to put the money outside. It's something that it has no sense that it
I
will.
didn't understand. Can you explain that again?
Yeah, exporting businesses,
Mhm.
they sell and they have to receive money in the country or whatever,
Mhm.
wherever they want their money.
Mhm.
So to assure that these people are getting the money into the country,
I see.
the government had the idea, which is not very brilliant, to give
Shocker.
them a document, a bond
Uh-huh.
for that whatever amount of the export, so they can give it or switch it to the importers. Importers, they have to send money abroad to
Uh-huh.
bring their merchandise, right?
Mhm.
So they wanted these guys to sit down and just switch.
I got you.
But these haven't passed, and this I don't think it will, because it's it's something that won't work.
Right. I mean, I don't know that anything this government has ever done has worked, but that's a separate story.
Yeah. I also do a lot of corporate law.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a legal advisor for some big firms here in Guayaquil,
Mhm.
and they're a bit worried about this. But the the saying is that it was just an idea, stupid idea, but an idea.
Yeah, I mean, the problem in Ecuador is that every time the president mentions one of his stupid ideas, money leaves the country. So, they don't have to enact their stupid ideas. They just have to talk about them to hurt the economy.
Yes, and the problem is that the president talks every Saturday.
Right, for like what, an hour or two? How
5
long?
hours.
5 hours? Oh my God.
Yes, it's like 4 or 5 hours, and he just like brainstorms in these 4 or 5 hours.
I'm
Lots
sure a lot of
things.
good ideas come out of that session.
Yeah, and rumors start there, and people started worry.
Right.
That's not good for business.
Yeah, I think that's part of the expansion in government spending. The production of a 5-hour show once a week.
According to the president, that's only 30 grand per program. That's according to him, but I'm sure it's a lot more.
And that's also not a small amount of money, because you multiply that by 4 times a month, 12 months a year. That seems like a lot of money for him just talking to the people.
Yeah, but he says that that's not the reason why the country is broke.
No, it's all the other spending.
Yeah. It's all the things that he talks about on the show that's bankrupting the country.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. I mean, I'm proud to say I've never seen that show. I'd certainly heard about it. I did not know it was 5 hours. That's impressive. And the market keeps going down and down and down.
Yeah.
So what are you, so corporate, talk about that for a second. I know you do some political legal work as well. You do some corporate stuff. What, you got any anecdotes to share with us there that would be interesting for people?
Well, while I was in law school, I used to work as a paralegal in a big Guayaquil law firm, which specialized in corporate law. I spent 3 years in that law firm, and I still do corporate law. So I have a big firms, big commercial firms within my clients. A couple of years ago, back in 2014, when we had the municipality elections, a guy who was elected 3 times back in the 90s as a mayor of a city called Playas hired me as a lawyer. He was fed up of these big traditional political parties, and he wanted to create his own local political movement.
Okay.
So I did the whole constitution. I created this political movement, local movement, for this guy and his people, which are quite a few. And he ran for mayor back in the elections of 2014. But yeah, in Playas, that's a city in the coast.
Playas, yeah.
Playas. Yeah, it's a small city. It has like 50,000 people living there.
Yeah, that's the town that's about halfway between Guayaquil and Salinas, correct?
Yeah, it's like 50 minutes away from Guayaquil. It's on the way to Salinas, and it has 14 kilometers uninterrupted of a very wide beach. It's a beautiful place. Anyhow, this guy, he ran for mayor, and I was, of course, the legal advisor of the movement. On the election day, something really, really outrageous happened. After the polls were closed and they were counting all the votes, military kicked out of the counting place to all the representatives of this local movement I've helped to create. And they just kept counting, with no representatives of this of my client. After a few hours,
I take it from that he lost.
After a few hours, people just broke into the place. There was big mass of angry people. I'm talking about hundreds of people, and they found votes that were ripped off and burned, all in favor of this candidate. Of course.
And I assume he was running against like an Alianza País candidate, or?
Yes, the Alianza País candidate won the election.
Sure, he did.
We put a lawsuit against the election process. We also did. We filed a criminal lawsuit against this winning candidate because of the fraud. They committed fraud, but we didn't succeed. They said we had no right to put the claim, and the judge they ruled in favor of the winning candidate.
Yeah, going against the government here is not a small undertaking.
Yeah, it's very hard to win against the government here. It's very hard.
Well, Jesse, anything else you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, Jose, I just let's just take 5 minutes. I'd love to hear your experiences. I know you were in the country. Let's see, that was 16 years ago, so you were pretty young at that point. But obviously you witnessed it. A lot of people around the world who study the money system, who study economics, debt levels, and so forth, are concerned about the dollar, concerned about the euro, other currencies as well, of course. And Ecuador is a country that actually had a currency collapse in 2000, since dollarized. I'd love to just hear if you could just, give us your firsthand account of what you saw and what, how that went and what you saw take place at that time. I think that would be insightful for people to hear.
Sure. Back in 99, people had all their savings froze by the government because we were entering a big crisis, caused mainly by the inorganic emission of money. We had the sucre as a currency, so the government just kept printing money, and inflation rose to the craziest levels, and things got out of control. The economy went so bad that people, they just couldn't pay their loans, and when the bubble exploded, we found out that most of the loans made by banks were made to the own bankers' other businesses. That's what we call the linked credits. Bankers were not only bankers, they also had TV channels, radio stations, big vehicle import and distribution businesses. Whatever kind of business you can think of, the bankers were part of it. So they were not only bankers, but they were big actors of the economy. And all these companies that they had economical interest in, they just kept loans open, while for the rest of the economy they were closed. And as soon as the big economical scenario went bad, and business that started doing wrong, they couldn't pay back to the banks. So it started with one bank that went, bankruptcy, and it was like a domino effect. Although that the central bank helped with some cash,
They printed more money.
Yeah, they injected money to these banks. They couldn't hold them, and it was like a domino effect. Started with one, and it like 10 or 15 financial institutions ended up closing.
And Jose, just to interject real quick with a question. During that time when that crisis was starting, you were telling me before, what were banks paying for deposits, interest rate?
I remember up to 80% interest rate for Sucre's deposit.
Imagine. So I just wanted to get that in there, but go ahead.
It was outrageous. And people were willing to put their money in the greed. That's just human nature. Willing to put the money into a bank who was paying 80% interest. That's a big alert, red light.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a bank that's paying 8% interest is a big alert.
That's a red flag, definitely, for common people. But back in 1999, I remember people were willing to put their money in these banks. There also, I remember a big manifestation, a public they went to the streets. The owner of this first bank that went bankruptcy, and he had lots of people behind him, thousands of people in the streets. They were, protesting against the government because they wanted more liquidity or money, cash injections. and the government said no more. So to avoid the bank from closing, they went out of the streets, and he had all these people behind him. I just can't understand how people were willing to put their money in these 80% rate interest banks.
I had actually heard as well too. Maybe you have some other similar stories of people who sold properties, sold cars, sold lots of other personal belongings in order to put their money in the bank to earn 80%.
Yes, indeed. Everybody wanted to, make or earn this big interest rate they were paying. The interesting thing is what happened after the banks were closed and all the money was frozen. Instead of giving the money back, they will issue a certificate for that money. So they didn't give you back the money, but a piece of paper.
Like an IOU.
Yes.
We swear.
Yes. And to cash that certificate of deposit, they will pay you like a 60% as a discount. Nobody wanted those bonds, those certificates. So you not only had your money froze, couldn't get it out, and it took like 3-4 months to get these certificates. And now when you had finally these certificates in your hand, they were paid at a 60% discount.
So they chopped 40%. Oh no, they chopped 60% off.
No, I'm sorry.
Or
They
40%.
chopped 40%.
Yeah,
they were
chopped 40%.
They were valued.
They
were
paid
valued
60 cents on the dollar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of the nominal value. So it was a terrible time for the Ecuadorian people. I remember people in the streets crying and crashing into the banks that were empty, but they were trying to get in, and police were,
So here we are 16 years later, and everybody's money's back in the banks.
Yeah, but it was a very hard time for us, and that's why we dollarized. That's why we assumed the dollar as our currency, so they can keep politicians from just printing money and take the country to hell.
Right. So they just borrow it. They borrow it from China instead.
Now it's borrowed from China. Yes.
So instead, you guys have our politicians in the United States printing your money.
Yes.
Well, good. I think we'll leave it there, Jose. First off, I just wanted to thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. A lot of great information for everyone. And then secondly, I wanted to just give you an opportunity to let our listeners know how they can reach you.
Oh, yes, sure. My email is Jose Alberto Ampuero at gmail.com. That is JoseAlbertoAmpuero at gmail.com. That's my email address, and I will be glad to, just attend any questions you have or requirements.
Yeah, and again, it can be hard to find a good attorney in Ecuador. We've worked with Jose since we got here for 3 years now. He's a great attorney, so highly, highly recommended from our perspective.
Yeah. The other thing that's hard is just to find someone who can explain to you things that really don't make sense if you're coming from the States or Canada or what have you. I mean, things are just much different here in Ecuador. And I know that just from personal experience, one of the things that's been most helpful about working with you, Jose, is just your command of English and your ability to articulately explain, why you need this document or that document, or why the process works in a certain way. So on a personal level, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you for having me here in your show.
Thanks. Talk to you
Jose, take care, man. Have a great day.
So do you. Bye.
See you.
Bye. So, figure we'll wrap up just with how you can contact us. Again, you can reach us at our website at www.abecuador.com. That's A as in apple, B as in boy, Ecuador.com. You can reach us toll free at 888-999-0948 or via email at info@abecuador.com. Catch you guys next week. Take care.